You're listening to Forever Fierce with Catherine Grace O'Connell, only on LA Talk Radio.
Cheers, beauties. Good afternoon. I am Catherine Grace O'Connell, and I am your host of the Forever Fierce Show, a show that is all about celebrating women, our earlier guest, of a certain age, and elevating and helping them redefine and redesign their lives in the most powerful way. So speaking of redesigning a life and a powerful woman, I am delighted to welcome our guest once again, Jacqueline DePaul, the founder of Yellow Brick Runway, model / engineer. Pretty cool. Welcome back.
Thank you. Fresh from Paris. Woo.
And she's looking like she's fresh, I tell you. There is a real fresh new look. It wasn't that long ago that we had you in here, and David Harry Stewart of Ageist, and you are rocking a new look here, sister.
Well, let me tell you about the Paris look, right? They wear a lot of red lipstick, so I zoomed around town buying different red lipsticks. It was like literally red lipstick week or something like that. So I have now like 5 of them. But they wear a lot of red lipstick and not much like eye makeup. And then the hair, this is the hair that they did for me in the fashion show, real sleek. And I was like, wow, that looks cool. So now I'm sporting the new Paris look.
You got it. You got to do it. I quite like the new, not that the other look didn't rock, but it's really fun to sort of have, different looks and different versions. And the truth is what you're doing is it's constant reinvention, isn't it?
Well, one of the privileges and responsibilities of being a woman is that we always have to play with this stuff. And I enjoy it, so I'm not complaining. I like making a character. So for me, this is my Parisian character, and I can do the bohemian or the rocker girl or whatever, but I like making I guess that's why I model, right?
Well, that's so cool. And I know we covered that story. If you guys, hopefully you'll tune into our earlier podcast with Jacqueline that really shared, like I said, engineer / I consider her a supermodel myself.
You're very sweet.
It's true. But it's really important for us to honor the different sides of ourselves. And I know I just want to do a little blip as to, let's not dive into that story too much, but just real quickly, what inspired you to really, not leave your day job? You kept your day job, but there was an artistic, inspirational side of you that you were honoring and you tapped into by launching Yellow Brick Runway and becoming a model at 38.
Yes. I think that most women hit that in their late 30s and their early 40s. They hit some kind of burst of newness that they're trying to fulfill because they've done either family or career or whatever and go, and then all of a sudden it's like, I want to do something. And that's what hit me. And I was a dancer, but I had been injured, so I couldn't dance. And I was like, I need something else. And then I just decided to start modeling with no preconception of what I could accomplish in it. That was important. No, required levels of achievement. I was just going to do it for fun. And it grew and grew into winning the Wilhelmina model search, over 40 model search, and getting agents and I'm doing campaigns. And I took runway lessons during this period because I thought, well, I want to learn how to do it because I was a dancer. This makes sense to me. And then I started doing runway shows, and they'd look at me walk and they go, well, she's a little older, but she's thin and tall and she can walk. Okay, good. And then LA Fashion Week kind of expanded and it got more difficult because they now having the real models, right? But I know how to runway, and my big dream was, I wish I had not missed the opportunity to do Paris. You do that when you're young. And now I just came back from Paris, so my dream come true. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to tell you about that.
And this is the ultimate Yellow Brick Runway, to be honest. And you didn't just walk the runway. I hate to say it, sister. You own. I don't hate to say it. I love to say it. You own the runway. That sachet, that beautiful, and really what I attribute it to, there's an amazing confidence and beauty that comes out, inside out. So please share that experience with our audience, because I know it's a pretty rare one that you get to experience.
So rare.
At 48.
Right. Who's going to ask a woman of 48 to go to Paris and So let's answer that question. I have designer friends who do not care how old I am. They think I'm beautiful in their clothes, that both in photography and runway. And they are the ones that use me. So this one designer, her name is Nathanael Couture. She's actually Italian, but she lives in LA. She's much younger than I am. We were sitting having coffee one day and just talking, and she was working through some things, you know, like what you do with a friend, right? And all of a sudden she came to this epiphany. She goes, you know what? I'm going to show my collection in Paris next season. And I go, that's a great idea, because it was. And then she goes, you should come with me and model. And I was like, okay. And then I honestly didn't think anything of it. I was like, there is no way, right? So I just let it go. And I'd get these texts every 2 weeks. Well, are you coming? Did you book your plane flight? You're coming, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. And I said to myself, you have to go. You cannot, this may never happen again. You have to go. So I booked a plane flight for me and the boyfriend.
And devil.
The devil, my handsome devil. I'm like, let's go to Paris. He's like, yeah, he loves Paris. He's like, okay, I'm going too.
I love that. And what I also love about you, so you get this amazing opportunity that came really just out of a beautiful conversation. You're showing up for a friend and she's showing up for you. And you jumped on it. You didn't, anybody else could have said, I didn't. I did not, but I didn't
I went
really,
through that.
And that's what I really want to talk about. What
Yes.
went on in here? What went on in here?
Oh, I can't do that. Like, that was the first response. Was I didn't say it to Nat because that was not appropriate. I just said okay. But I went home and I'm like, there's no way. I'm not small enough. I'm too old. You know, I wear a size 6. I have a nice beefy bum. Like, the boys love it, right? But that's not model figure, right? I'm just like, I can't. There's no way. That's not going to work. And she kept coming towards me, and I'm like, Jacqueline, you can't miss this opportunity. I don't care how scared you are. You have to go. You're never going to forgive yourself if you don't go. So I was like, all right, fine, I'm going to go. And I booked the plane. I was like, I'm just going to diet like crazy until I get there and have some level
We
of
talked about that on the last show.
over that. Yeah, I was like, I just need to be as small as possible so that I don't get stressed out. So yes, I did. And I was afraid. And then I experienced similar fear when I was there, because again, I am standing next to young women that are the age of what would be my daughter. So I'm comparing my size, my skin, and everything else to a 19 to 24-year-old, which is not possible to make that comparison. But when you're standing in that room and there's all these models, and then the designer has to select the model that they want to use, it feels a little bit like being the last person picked on the soccer team, where everyone's getting chosen and you're like waiting.
So, you're trying out for a cheerleader and you look at that list.
Yeah.
You know, where's my name?
Like,
and
but I'm tall and elegant, and I actually look French. Mm-hmm. So I actually, Nathanael brought me for her line, but 2 other designers selected me as well. So I was really lucky, and I can walk. Like, I trained that. I trained in that so that I knew what I was doing. So when I move, they like it. So sometimes you can see it in their faces. Mm-hmm. They look at me and they watch me walk, and they're kind of juggling between, I like how she does that, but she's old. Well, okay.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and some of them are like, all right, fine. And then the other ones are like, no. I mean, there was a couple that declined. And they would not use me.
Well, we can't make everyone happy, can we?
And you know what? I didn't take it personally. Like, it's like, I'm just grateful that somebody did. And you know what? I worked the runway hard for those people, right? And I was grateful that they're brave enough to recognize that we are the consumer anyway. I mean, we all know that, right? We know that. But the designers have this idea that how it's supposed to look. And luckily, I had some designers that were like, this is fine. And especially Nathanael, she and her creative director, Erica, were so supportive of me. They even pulled me out in the beginning before the fittings to do a photo shoot in her line. And they could have picked all the younger models, and they're like, no, we want Jacqueline. Okay, you know, like, and I love that because they're not afraid to show their work on an older woman, right? Because they think I'm beautiful and they think I'm creative, and they don't care.
Well, they're not only not afraid, they feel you enhance it. Which you did.
I hope so.
Yeah, you rocked it. So let's be real about this. And I know there are many people out there, women that are probably very inspired by you before this, and now really inspired by you and your vulnerability. Where can they find? There's this incredible sachet on Paris Fashion Week. You have your own community. You have your own Facebook page. You have your own Instagram. Let's let women know where to find you so they can check this out. We'll give them more information at the end, but I want them to be able to check this out because it's an experience that is, let's really celebrate women at 48 doing things like this.
Well, if you Google Yellow Brick Runway or Jacqueline DePaul on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, you'll find me. And I've been posting proudly, very proudly, every little clip and photograph that I can find. I'm like, this is me in Paris. Oh, my word. You know, like, I can't get over myself pretty much. and you know what? I had to stay calm because I was really excited and little nervous and a little worried about, like, some of the clothes didn't fit. They were too small. That happens, you know. And then Nat said, we have some new girls that have never walked. Can you teach them? And I said, well, yes, because I'm a very good coach. But to me, I was like, this could be inappropriate. And she's like, no, go teach them. So I'm pulling girls and training them in runway walk. And they're like, who's this lady? You know, and then I'm on the runway with them. But it evolved into, you know, from the teaching at the fittings, it evolved into, Jacqueline, can you please work with the choreographer at the day of the show? I'm like, sure, because my business side, right? That's what I do in business. I just take ownership and take control of everything. So I'm helping the car. Girls are stopping. I'm like, stop here, walk longer, you know. And there were, honestly, and I don't blame them, these little girls were a little confused because their producer is suddenly walking in the show, you know, but whatever, you know, I just
let's let go of that. So I think that is amazing, and I know you reached out to me and you shared your own inner journey through this. You learned a lot about yourself,
yes.
And I think what really resonates with women is when we open up with what's going on in here and here. It's not always that pretty picture or that runway walk. There's always something going on in our mind with old stories coming up. So if you would, I'd really appreciate you kind of sharing what you shared with me, with our audience.
Okay, so in preparation for the fashion show, I started getting skinnier. Even when you saw me, you said, you've lost weight, right? So it was about 8 pounds that I knocked off in 2 months, which really helps, right? But when I get in a room full of, and they're not just 22-year-olds, they're 22-year-old models, which is even taller and thinner and more beautiful than regular 22-year-olds, right? Then comes the, you know, I'm not really comparing well with, like, I had to stay really calm in my mind and just go, well, I'm this, and 3 designers have chosen me, and I'm happy, and that's it. Like, I can't compare myself to the girl who just walked for Balmain because she did. You know what I mean? I'm just not going to. And then, so there was one designer that everyone wanted to walk for. Her dresses looked like you were just queen of the forest pixies. Like, they were the most fantasy, like, beautiful, feminine. And she put it on me, and I loved it. And she was one of the ones that was like, no, I need, you know, the Balmain model, right? And so, so this is not the time to get sad about this, right? I got the other 2. And then when the whole thing was over, I remember while I was walking, because it was very Chanel, they had all these salons with gold leaf trim, and you just walk through the rooms and you present your garments through the different rooms. It was incredible. And when the whole thing was over, because it was 2 sets of shows, I was like, I have just reached the pinnacle of my career. I have just walked in Paris Fashion Week. This is a dream come true. Nothing like this is ever going to happen again.
It's over.
It's over. And then I went off for the next like week and a half with the devil. Eating everything in sight, which was effectively undoing all the work I had done to get to this point. Because in my mind, I was like, that was amazing, and it's never going to come back. Like, for some reason, I had convinced myself that this was a, like, lightning moment that just happened by chance, and that could never possibly ever happen to me again. And then I was like, okay, I'm throwing in the towel. I just retired. You know, I was just like, gotta go out on top. And then I was like, boom, you know, like put on all the 10 pounds back and just was like, and then I get an email from someone in Orange County saying, hey, can you please come and walk for this designer in our fashion week? And I had just landed from Paris, like all poofed out, and I was like, they go, we saw you in Paris. So suddenly Paris gave me cred, right? I was like now more important because I had been to Paris Fashion Week, and all they already want me for another show, and I was just like, oh my God, if I was a man, I would just say I just kick myself in the balls. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, I was thinking of that when you were saying this, because you work as an engineer really in a male-dominated world, and men think of things differently. So I could be wrong. I'm not in a man's mind, but I'm assuming if a man had that experience, they get off there and go, I am badass. Like, and they're on to the next thing, and like this ego, and like, look at me, and what are we doing as women? Why do we do this to ourselves? And how do we change that? How do we change that inner story?
Well, I'm not sure how to change it, but I can tell you.
How have you changed it?
I think that when the show was over, because it was a beautiful thing, and the first one started at like 4 and went to 6, and then the next set started from 7:30 to 9 or something. So you were in hair and makeup at 11. We were, you know, all high strung all day, and we're like excited, rehearsing, and so this was a long day. And so A, I was tired. That doesn't help your attitude. And B, I was ready for it to be done because there was some stress involved. You know, I like performing, but I am aware that everyone who looks at me sees an older woman, right? Older than I was the only one. And so I have to kind of represent, you know, because they're all looking and waiting to see what they feel about this, right? Even the photographers, the audience, they're all watching, and this is highly unusual. Like, you just don't see this unless you're in the top designers that are using the older supermodels, then there's big applause. But very few people do this at that lower level, right? So I was very aware that they're all watching me, and I just had to hold it together. So I was ready for it to be over. And then when I got to the end, and I was like, there is no way that this could ever happen again. That is a problem. What you just spoke of, that is a problem, because why should I assume that then I have held? It's basically as if I had held this rickety structure together all the way to that moment, and then I knew it was just like I had to break, and that was it. Like, that concept is something I have to get rid of.
It's fine. You know, the metaphor that just came to me with David Harry Stewart, who's not here today. He's always like, get in the boat. We talk about this all the time. Get in the boat. So you like create the boat, and then you smash the boat.
Right. That's what Will Smith calls it, kicking yourself in the balls. He's like, life is hard enough against you. Why are you going to kick yourself in the balls? I'm like, he's right, you know. Yeah. But that's what I did. It wasn't terrible, but it was I basically went off the grid, and to be doing this modeling, there's certain very strict things that you have to follow. You know, I just was like, well, I'm a regular person now. I can eat whatever I want and do whatever I want, and like, but that blows it up. Right?
Well, do you see it now? Because you're pretty in tune with yourself, woman. Self-sabotage, that old voice, that's it. And we start sabotaging ourselves as women inside out.
Yeah, that was a bit of a low blow on myself.
And, and then How did it feel though to get that email? Other than the inner panic, oh my God, I learned to lose 15
I
pounds
know.
and lose the bloat. But did it make you question your own inner reality and belief system? Like I'm okay. I'm okay at this.
It did, because I was like, well. But I have to tell you, I've gone through this before. Like every time I've done something really great, I have decided that it can't possibly continue. I have this idea that I'm somehow like falling into it in this lucky way, and that it can't possibly keep happening. So like I got my first cover. I got what girl doesn't want to be on the cover of a fashion magazine, right? Like that. I got a cover of a magazine in Dubai. And I understand why they selected me, because they have a different culture, right? And I was wearing like this long
white
sleeve. It was a red.
I saw the white cover, the white dress cover.
That was the second one.
That was ridiculous.
That's the second one. The first one, I was wearing these like long drapey sleeves, and I was covered, with this flowy gown and big jewelry, and I could see how they could respond to that, because there's more coverage, right? It's a more conservative society. So I got my first cover, and I was like, oh, well, that'll never happen. Nothing like that. Okay, I'm done. And then the next thing you know, there was something again. Like every time I say that I'm finished, there's more. And I keep wondering why I keep assuming. My photographer, Leslie, thinks it's hilarious. She's like, why do you always assume that you're just a has-been every 5 minutes? But
well, what I'm curious is if you'd actually believed in yourself, where would you be now? Not that you're at a pinnacle, but if, let's say, we put that energy behind it and we changed the inner voice to one of celebration, and we were more like the man's mindset, in that every time I have an achievement, I'm going to celebrate that achievement, and I know there's another one and a bigger one and a bigger one and a bigger one.
Well, that's the way it should be done.
Well, yeah, and we have the choice, right?
That is how I get to these pinnacles. And so that was my original promise to myself, that I would focus on what I was doing right and celebrate the wins, so to speak, and disregard any losses or issues.
All right, so that's a big takeaway.
Yeah, so that was
Focus
how I
on wins.
started the modeling, right? I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing right, and anything that I'm not doing right, I'll improve, but my focus will be on like, this is what I accomplished. So I get to these little pinnacle points, and then it's like a shape like this. It's like up and then slightly back down and then up, because that is how it should be done. But I'd hit these points that I never thought I could get to. Covers of magazines, Paris Fashion Week, whatever. And I go, well, there can't possibly be more.
We just had a show with Hillary Lentini, and it's so funny because we did that exact graph. Life is that way. Life isn't like we go up and we go up and we go up. It's like we go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. And every time we go down, we have an opportunity, like you said, that pinnacle to jump. And there's usually a precipice between the two. It's not like, oh God, there's a straight line. It's like, no, we got to go down, and then we got to trust ourselves to jump again, and then we continue. Sounds like that's your process.
Well, but you know what? It's honestly, it's not the most efficient. If I stuck with the original policy, it would be far more efficient.
Celebrate, yeah. And we'd probably go more like this.
Yeah, well, that's what you do.
Yeah, right. You don't know my inner world. Let's be real with women. We all have it. But what we need to do is, and what I try to do, is surround myself with cheerleaders who believe in me and project that belief into me when I lose it.
That's smart. I haven't thought of that.
Well, but you have, because you got me, and you have.
I like having you. She's like my biggest cheerleader.
I have a lot of girl crushes. And the truth is women, we got to get over the old paradigm of competition, because it doesn't serve anyone. And my shining light on you, to me, it just elevates all of us.
Oh yeah,
like so let's do it.
That's what we have to do. And I always have the viewpoint of, fashion especially is not particularly interested in including us.
Not yet.
So we have to include ourselves. Like, we have to go make our own community until our own community is so cool that everyone's like, what are they doing over there? So that's kind of, we just include ourselves, so we don't wait for them. And that's kind of my whole philosophy on the modeling, because as a middle-aged woman, you don't normally start modeling. I don't wait to get hired. That's why I have my blog and my own projects, and I do have agents, and they do get me things, and but I don't sit around going, oh, I wish somebody would hire me. No, that's when I went and made that Power superhero series.
You do your own Vogue cover shoots. I swear to God, it's ridiculous. So tell our audience about that and how they can find that, because it's an incredible experience, and you take everyone behind the scenes.
Well, if you go to yellowbrickrunway.com, there's a blog post there with the behind-the-scenes video, which is really cool. And we had a creative director. Now, I'll tell you who she is, Jeanette Valbuena. She was the creative director for a skincare campaign that I did through my agency. And she really liked me. And I was telling her about these, she calls them mini shoots. For us, they're not mini, but she has big budgets, right? So she calls them mini shoots. And she said, I want to help. I want to be creative, because all she does all day is faces. So she wanted to do something fashion. And so I said, well, do you have an idea? And she goes, yeah, I want to do something with you floating. And I was like,
and you did.
I was like, oh, you don't want to dampen someone's creative enthusiasm, right? So I was like, oh, okay, I'll get back to you. And I called up Leslie. I go, how do we do floating?
David Copperfield has nothing on you, sister.
So it was really funny. I was just like, so we figured out. So she wanted to do strong woman, powerful woman, and so we figured out we could bend me over ladders and boxes and then erase them and photo shoot and have lots of wind. And then we had costumes that were very superhero-ish, that they would blow, and crazy hairstyles. And so when we erased all the stuff around, it became these floating, flying, like shooting superhero girls. And it worked. And then we got the cover of, they called it the Power issue. It's a fashion magazine in Canada. And there was a lot of people that of these editors that they're smaller magazines. They're obviously not Vogue, but they're fashion magazines. They're celebrating this strong woman concept. They loved it, and nobody cared how old I was. They're like, this is awesome. So
I think you rocked that cover. It's on her Instagram, again, Yellow Brick Runway, and Jacqueline DePaul on Facebook and all over. You just Google it and you will find it. It's the most incredible thing I think I've ever seen. And you doing it yourself with this mini team. You said something not long ago that made me think of our last show with David. And you said you're used to attributing things to luck or something else, somebody else doing something. Last time we talked about your relationship, finding love at 48. And I remember David and I sitting there, and I was like, well, do you think it's all this inner work you've done and
no.
it just happened. So how do we change women to begin to believe in themselves, that they're actually creating these things themselves? They're attracting these things, and they have the power to do more and more and more.
Oh, my word. I can't tell you about other women. I just...
Well, okay, then let's talk about you.
I'll have to speak from... Yeah, I mean, I know that I work hard, but what I see doing in myself is that I know how to be active. And I know how to go through steps, and that's my business mind. I know how to say, here's the project, here's all the steps, do the steps. What I think about myself is not necessarily corresponding to doing the steps. So there's this other section of, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too whatever, that I know how to disregard because I know how to do steps. So this is the business mind, right? So I just keep going regardless of what I think, and then I'll hit some pinnacle. And that's, I think, where the problem is, because when I hit that, I actually take a moment to pause, and I go, wow, look where I am. And that's where the other stuff creeps in, like,
and then you go, whoop.
Because normally I'm so busy moving towards my goal that I don't have time to listen to this. I just kind of push it out. But if I stop moving, it comes in, and I'm like, let me reassess. Can I still do this? Or, it's been 2 years. Maybe I'm really too old now. Like, that's what happens.
Do you think that's why we keep ourselves so busy, to stop, ourselves from actually really thinking too much about where we're at and celebrating ourselves? We just kind of go and stay on that treadmill.
Well, if I don't keep driving things forwards, they don't typically happen. So,
but do we drive things forward? Or I mean, I know I'm speaking for myself.
Well, you very much drive things forward. I watch
it's
them driving every day.
But I took 3 days to really honor myself this weekend, and I had, to be honest, I was so busy. I realized I was so busy trying to change the world, save the world, that I was letting myself go, which is classic women. And I took 3 days to carve out, which I thought was going to be really hard for me, and I spend time in self-reflection and meditation and prayer and yoga and getting to the farmer's market and getting the healthy food and making myself soup. I wanted soup. But you know what? We need to do this as women, don't we? You are a very busy woman. You have a very active life.
Oh, trust me. I am not. You cannot accuse me of not taking care of me. I'm actually very selfish and vain.
Okay.
I have I don't have kids, so I don't fall into that. I'm taking care of everybody else first. I have the boyfriend, but I have selfish motives on that one. So,
well, I would change your language around that. You don't have selfish motives. You're in love. You met a man
in love.
You met a man that's pretty cool, and
he went around Paris with me, like videotaping me, and
I saw.
He was at every fashion show, and he was so proud, and I was like,
as he should be. As he should be. I'm like, I think we're all in awe of you, and I think it's time for you to take a moment back and be in awe of yourself.
Thank you. That is the one thing I don't do. I don't get in awe of myself, because I watch what I do, and I'm like, oh my God, that was so hard to do. And then everyone else sees the end result, and I see all of this, and I was like, well, that wasn't that great. But I let everybody else think it's great, but I personally don't think it's that. I mean, it's like, okay.
But I think that's beautiful, though, that we have to be real, that, life isn't really the scene. Life is what happens behind the scenes. And what we learn from ourselves isn't from this experience, it's what went on leading to that experience.
Yeah. And, people watch my social media. They don't realize that I'm an engineer. Like, they think I'm a full-time model, which I guess I'm producing enough material to make people think that I'm a full-time model, which astounds me, because I'm like, well, I guess, but I have a job, and this is kind of my hobby. But many people have no idea that I'm an engineer also.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
And I'm telling everyone out there right now.
but really, like, what they see is the culmination of a lot of what I'll call work, but I have to say that for me, modeling is the me time. My projects are my self-fulfillment. That's why they come across as so, I think, strong, because there's so much passion that goes into building these creations, and we get so excited when we see the end result. We're like, wow, we did that. Like, that is so awesome. And then we're on to the next, but we'll look back at it a year later or 2 years later, and we're like, was that us? Like, we really did that? So for me, that's my celebration time, is this artistic pursuit. And the projects keep getting bigger and bigger, and then I keep going, well, I don't know where to go from here, but we always think of something.
Well, I think that's why women are, at least I know I'm attracted to you, and I have a feeling women are attracted to you, because all of us have a side of us that's creative, or other sides that are unexpressed.
Yeah.
And it's really important that the truth is, you're not an engineer. That's a role that you play. You're a woman with multiple personalities and multiple facets to your personality. And when you tap into those, like, creativity is life-changing, isn't it?
Oh, I wouldn't feel balanced. Like, that's why I went after this, because I love my job. I mean, I have a physics degree. I'm very stimulated by this type of thing, but it's not enough. And I find that getting the artistic side in makes life so enjoyable and balanced. And that's something that I encourage all women to do. I don't, whether you're and trust me, mom is a job. So I don't care what your job is. Mom, engineer.
Trust me.
Whatever, Starbucks person. You have a job, and you can like the job. You can not like the job. It's fine. But I don't like when people box themselves into that one facet. I think we get sad. I got sad. So when I added the modeling as a creative pursuit, that made me happy. because now I have all these different sides of myself that I can massage when I'm in the mood, you know, and it makes you feel kind of fulfilled and well-rounded. And I really encourage women, like, for some of them, their form of expression is running a marathon, you know, exercise or CrossFit, go. You know, or if their form of expression is singing, I you know, go do karaoke bar or do the church choir or whatever. I don't feel like people should limit themselves trying to be. That was one thing I promised myself. I'm not trying to be Gisele Bündchen.
You're not trying to be someone that you're not.
No, I'm just going to model for me. And so just going to a runway lesson for me was a beautiful activity.
Expression.
Yeah, because I was expressing myself. And that is the rule. Because if I compare myself to Cindy Crawford, well, it's not going to go very well. Yeah. So that is the rule. It's like, I'm doing what I want to do because I love doing it. I'm going to push myself to be the best that I can do. And that's it. And then if everybody likes it, great. If they don't like it, okay, fine. You know, but that's, I think women, what you said, like when you say we don't take time for ourselves, for me, that is a big self-time, is that creative hobby, you know, whatever makes you feel stimulated outside of what you normally do.
I think that's so important, and we talked about on the show with David, this path, it came out, really the universe closing one door, and you opened another. We talked about on the show with Hillary, life happens that way, right? Mm-hmm. We don't see this door kind of getting slammed in our face and go, oh my God, and we go, oh look, there's nothing else. Mm-hmm. But you stopped being able to dance, and that was your creative expression, and you transitioned over to here. So there are women out there right now looking and going, maybe they've lost themselves. Maybe a door has shut on them. And how do they use social media? It's free. They don't have to launch a blog. They don't have to have a production team. They can do something right now to tap into those other sides and pull themselves out of wherever they are and elevate themselves and inspire themselves and express themselves.
Yes. Now, what I would recommend if they're just starting is, at our age, we all remember an activity that we kind of liked as in a more artistic vein, whether that's pottery or painting or cooking or whatever, you know, performing. I've been a gymnast, I've been a dancer, my body and moving the body has always been my thing, right? So that's why modeling was kind of like a logical sidestep. But I can't paint or cook to save my life. Like, I'm just not a doing with my hands person. But some people like to write, whatever. Review those areas which you were naturally drawn to, and then pick one. And then I would go to classes, like writing workshops or
even
pottery,
free online
pottery classes, free local community. Get yourself amongst people that are willing to help you and support you in doing it, and don't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about social media in the beginning because everyone has opinion, and when you first start something, I think it's almost dangerous to get other people's opinions, because, like, if you had said to someone right when at your moment, besides your daughter, because I read your blog post, but if you had announced to the world, I'm going to do what you do now, right? There would have been a lot of people that would have been like, that's kind of hard, and we think you should just lay down, you know? Like, I almost think keep your creative thing to yourself until you've gotten it to a point where other people are naturally giving you positive feedback, then announce it on social media, you know. But social media can be destructive.
I think that's really wise. I love that you said that. Not that we're focusing on things, but just being real. And Hillary and I talked about that, being real about ourselves, but also like the world. And what you're really saying, I think, is you're building a personal brand really on the inside for a while, and building that energy and holding that energy and building that belief in yourself. So you can go out on social media and say, hey guys, this is who I am. I'm going to rock this. And frankly, I don't really care. I don't care what you say. I'm going to hear what you say, but I'm not going to let you bring me down. I'm going to keep going.
Exactly. And I really think when you're, like, we've been through a lot when we hit our early 40s, right? There's been successes, there's been damage, there's been, and now there's sickness and illness. Like we've been through a lot, right? So when you're first nurturing that creative part of you, I just think it needs to be not interfered with.
Just kept sacred.
Yeah, kept sacred. And I think it's less about, like, the brand comes after you rediscover that core that has something to do or say. So I think the person, like what I did, is I started going to runway classes and started getting photographers to teach me. I had some learning to do. I wasn't a model straight out of the gate, But I think, like, let's say if you wanted to be a painter, then you would go to your classes and start painting. And I think once you have that creative thing that you're feeding just for yourself, you feed it to yourself, one day you may get to the point where you're like, I'm going to show this. And that person's feedback is not going to hurt you because you've now fed your own creative soul. It has to be, I think, for you first. Yours was for you first. Even though it's a huge social media thing, your purpose was your own fulfillment. And so was mine. It was my own fulfillment. And I think you have to sing or paint or whatever for your own fulfillment before you spread it around to everybody.
I agree with you. I definitely started sort of the healing and finding my voice and how that changed my life, and I wanted to inspire others.
Yeah.
But you have a community, I have a community. I couldn't find a community. I couldn't find women like me. I couldn't find women celebrating women like me.
Totally.
And I decided to be the change and create that. So the reason I love social media is because of what I created, to be honest, and what you created. That I have a sacred community where women can go and they can be vulnerable and they can start building that belief inside. You're in the Forever Fierce Revolution. They start building that belief inside. They don't have to go out on Facebook in general. They can stay in this community and it's like birthing a baby. And
you have built a safe social media spot for midlife women, which when I saw it, I was like, whoa. Because I had never seen that anywhere. So that
no mean girls allowed.
Yeah, and I find it, even though I already had an audience, to be inside your group is really a pleasure because the audience there is other women like me. I have a lot of followers that are younger or older or men or whatever, but to enter into your group, to discover all these women that are doing all this cool stuff was very actually therapeutic for me because I'm kind of a loner. What I'm doing is so weird that it's like, well, I'm just on my own, right? So I'm just continuing. And then I found you, and you have created this sort of community center almost online.
It is, and what I love is that, I hate the term misfit or whatever, but I kind of felt like that. And a lot of the women I talked to, like you, be it a loner, be it I didn't fit in the world, we're building someplace so women start feeling like they fit in somewhere. Because,
which is great.
Yeah, we all deserve a place, and we all deserve to fit in. And I know we're going to wrap up in like 5 minutes, but I just got back from New York, and it was a big gala and big influencers and big celebrities and all this stuff. And one of my friends who is an influencer was actually sat at the lead table with like Oprah's stylist. And the first thing in her mind, she goes, oh my God, she's checking the place, and this is not where I'm supposed to be, and nobody's talking to me, and I don't belong. It was like shrinking down. And then at one point she goes, this is an opportunity. I guess I'm supposed to be here. And she got up and she went and introduced herself to everybody. And she was like, but she recognized those voices.
Well, you have to. I mean, we get them. You just have to disregard it and keep going.
But we all have them. And no matter if you're an influencer, if you're a celebrity, I think as a woman, it's just this weird cultural programming. And we got to change our inner world. So, and start building others up and projecting positivity that's real. Like, I see beauty in you, so I'm going to tell you about it. I'm not going to be like, oh God, she's beautiful, and I'm going to like pull her down and that old like, what are we doing?
Oh, thank goodness for you, Catherine.
Well, and it's just, I think we all have that. We all have that power. Let's just give ourselves back that power.
Yeah, but you know what? Your supportiveness of all of us is welcomed, and we're grateful for it. All of us are grateful for it because you have this sort of group thing that I've never even considered, and so when you're typing your little comments to me on Facebook, and I'm like, Catherine said hello. You know, like it's awesome. And I'm sure all the women feel that way.
You're
in
so
your
cute.
club.
My business manager makes fun of me, like when we're sitting there, and I'm laughing on the phone as I'm texting, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I love this. I get so it's like I'm communicating with
all your women.
I get so that's my favorite
You're our leader.
thing. I get so
Catherine's our leader.
fired up, not to spend time on social, but for me, but just to be like, "Go, girl! You are gorgeous. You rock that. Shine your light." You know,
our fearless leader.
But we have to do. We are all leaders.
Yes, it's true. But I'm willing to let you be a bigger leader than me.
But you know, we all need to believe that we're influencers in our own way, influencers of our own selves, of our own inner worlds, and also of other women. We have to understand the power that we have. We have the power to change our lives, but we also have the power to change other people's lives. And you know, you're not going to hear Oprah tearing people down. You're going to hear her building people up, and it's because she believes in herself and she wants to project beauty onto others. And that's how this ripple effect. We got to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm willing.
Believer?
I'm following you up the hill, Catherine. I'm like, well, she's running. Let's run.
Get in the boat. Let's
go.
Let's it's like the crew team. You know, we got to be in this Forever Fierce Revolution crew team around the world.
Yeah, and the more contribution, the better. Like the more women that are going to pick up their whatever it is that they're doing. If their create is that I'm going to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, then go. You know, like, doesn't have to be an art form. It can be a business form, whatever everyone's doing. The more people that get in there and push, the better off we're going to be. So we're happy to have you in the front.
I don't think I'm little enough to be one of those. What do you call it at the head of the crew boat? You know, so you're supposed to be this
the ones
little
that
person.
sit in the back and say, row,
row. I'm the one with the megaphone shouting, guys, go. But I love that. Actually, I've never thought of that metaphor before. My son was on the crew team. And when you think of it, if in the old paradigm, women are taught to squash women to rise. Like, does that work? Like to you know, stamp on somebody so we can go up. If you think about it in the boat, that means they're pulling the oar backwards while we're going forwards. And what do? We go like this. But if we get in the boat and we all row together and lift each other together, we are going to freaking fly.
Yeah. Seems pretty logical to me.
So get in the boat, let's row together, and let's really build this world and link arms, and let's celebrate each other first, and then celebrate each other.
And we need it, because we can't do it. But, I mean, if I didn't have Leslie, she's in her early 50s, and she was a model for 20 years, but she started photography really late. She's the one that does all my images. So without her going, doesn't matter how old you are, you're beautiful, let's go. You know, like.
Because she sees something that we don't see, and we need that. We need somebody to have the clear lens.
Yeah, like I think seeing ourselves correctly is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful to have people around you that are like, yeah, let's do it. And we need it. So I'm glad you've created the group, and we can all do it for each other. And you've introduced me to so many people. I'm like, this is awesome. You know, like, these people are cool. I would have never met them. So
thank you.
That's very nice.
We're all pretty cool. So I want to make sure people know Forever Fierce Revolution. Definitely join us, because if you want to be part of this, get in our boat, row our boat. Let's change the world together. And let's let people know before we sign off where to find Miss Jacqueline DePaul rocking Yellow Brick Runway, and follow her journey on Paris Fashion Week and her journey in life.
Well, best places are yellowbrickrunway.com, which is the blog, and you can see a lot of fun projects there. Or Instagram, Yellow Brick Runway, which is where I'm really active. And then I'm also on Facebook, either Yellow Brick Runway as a page, or Jacqueline DePaul, where I'm posting cat videos. Like, you can go there too.
Cat.
But Instagram is really where I'm pretty active there.
Okay, you guys can stalk her in the best possible way, like I do. So anyway, reach out to Jacqueline. Definitely encourage her, encourage other women in your lives, but most of all, encourage yourself, because we believe in you. And, you know, it's just a beautiful world, guys. Join our Forever Fierce Revolution and start on your path of redefining and elevating yourself along with us. So cheers, beauties. And thank you for being here, Miss Jacqueline. Stay fierce.
Stay fierce.
You're listening to Forever Fierce with Catherine Grace O'Connell, only on LA Talk Radio.